What's up, guys? This is Ian here, bringing you a redo of what my Draft League creation episode 2 was supposed to be. It turns out that I ended up filming or saving over that file with the file for document creation for Draft League number 1, hilariously enough. So this is my second take at this. Shout out to Austin for catching that. It's now listed. It's now in a private video, so you shouldn't be able to watch it because it was obviously just a repeat of the first one. So, welcome to document creation for Draft League number 2. I will not be going over the rest of how to build the doc, but you can feel free to pause anytime and take some of my ideas. We'll be going through my Nimbasa City League document here, and then I've got some points to go through with the League of Extraordinary Trainers doc as well. So that's kind of just where I wanted to go from there. We'll sort of talk about some key points here. Ignore everything in red. Those are some rule changes that I'm thinking about changing for next season. But we'll talk about the draft tab here. So in episode 1, we went through and built a rules list, a tier list. We built a rosters page, and we built a team page format. Kind of just a sort of a smaller version, just encompassing like this much. But now we're going to talk about the draft tab. So I've got a draft tab here, and I don't know if I've talked about this yet, but there's something called data validation. So if you right-click on a cell, you go to data validation, you can show a drop-down list of a range of other things. So for the draft tab, I don't think I have it set up. It's not set up to reference to the NCL draft list side over here yet, but the draft order we'll talk about in a second as well. You can see it's cell referencing from the admin tab, and I'll go through and walk you through what the admin tab is and what it does. But essentially what data validation does is by having this list here, you can see from cells A178 to C707 from the admin tab, you can do a drop-down list. Now, I had this in alphabetical order. If you don't put it in alphabetical order, it will not show up in alphabetical order. But let's say we wanted to search up Magerna. So you could just start typing it in, and then it'll filter that through that way. If I just did AG, it would only come up with Agron. It has to be the beginning letters, but you can filter through it. And if I put Agron here, normally, once this is all set up before the draft, Agron would then show up here in this slot. These teams are all cell reference. No, do not want to do that. These these teams are all cell referenced from the draft order here, which is all cell referenced from the admin page. So everything sort of works together. We don't need Agron on here anymore. All the tabs, all the sheets are sort of working together. So we'll go through the admin tab and I'll show you what I mean. Um, so what we've got here is a draft order, and I've done it with the abbreviation just so that it will actually fit in here and that it'll actually fit in here. Could have expanded this, but I decided against that. So we've got a draft order here, and I can just, I did data validation based off of these cells. So if you right click one of these cells, data validation is from admin A2 to A17, A2 to A17. Those are the cells. So T1 through T16, those are what's showing up. And so let's say T1 is the draft order, and we'll put T16 here. We go back to draft. All of a sudden, it's all referenced perfectly with the snake format, with the wheel, both of the wheels having first pick. You can see it shows up there and there too. So everything works like clockwork that way with cell referencing and stuff like that. The time zones here, I've data validated this as well. So if you go to the team page format, you can just select from the list of what time zone it is. These are the common time zones that I've experienced, plus Jed's time zone. Because I'm in quite a few leagues with Jed, I figured I'd throw that in there to make it easier on myself. We can just ignore all of this stuff for now. It's kind of stuff that I've wanted to be automated. Eventually, once all the teams come in, you can have logos in here, and then you could submit it as a hyperlink, and then it'll show up in the logo space. I haven't referenced this yet, but that's something you can do. Something I was playing around with is the hazard setters and hazard removers and clerics and trying to automate those. That's something the LET doc does really, really well, and I haven't been able to figure out how to properly do it. Same with the resistances and weaknesses. This requires a lot more space, and we'll sort of talk about that in a second. Oh, excuse me. Sorry. Sorry about that. That's my bad. Why are these merged? I mean, it's fine that they're merged. Oh, I know why, because it was 0 times. But anyways, I've managed to settle on data validation. So I ended up going through, and I'll show you this in a sec, but I data validated, and so you just select from the hazard setters, you select from the hazard removing, you select from the cleric options, and then there's a list of clerics and hazard removers and stuff that I chose from to data validate to, which we'll go back to over here. So this is where I got the data validation for those. I just sort of wrote them in myself. And then eventually over here, I have a list of overall hazard setters, overall hazard removers, and overall clerics. Data validated all of these, and so that's what shows up on the chart over there. That's kind of what I wanted to talk about. But now that we've talked about the relevance of each part of each sheet, so the draft sheet being connected to the admin sheet being connected to the team page format, all that good stuff. Eventually, the admin sheet will be connected to the rosters page as well, I would imagine. That's kind of all I wanted to touch on about the NCL Season 2 doc, but we'll just quickly go through here because I know I didn't talk about these in the first video. We got the transactions tab here. Very simple transactions log that I like to do. Week submitted is obviously really important, especially if you don't include a week 0, because then you have sort of a reference point to go back to when someone says, oh, I submitted at this date, but it wasn't active until then. So week active is obviously very important, so that the people that they're playing against know what week it's active for. Transactions really nice and easy. I think I actually went through and did some of these in one of my earlier videos, but I can't remember for sure. Type of transaction is important if you're distinguishing between a trade and a free agent swap. And complete documentation I like to just do for myself because it needs to be tracked in the League Leaders expanded chart. It needs to be tracked on the team page. It needs to be tracked on the rosters page. And it needs to be tracked on the tier list page. So having all of that in there makes it work like clockwork. Schedule page, I built a very basic schedule page. You don't really have to go all out for a schedule page normally because the important thing about the schedule page is the matchups. Obviously making it look pretty is really nice, and this doesn't look that pretty in quotations, but it's nice and clean. So despite the fact that there's no colors on this page, it looks really clean, everything's centered, and you know where everything is going. Standings page, this is just a sneak peek into the standings page for next season. You generally want to have your playoff seeding rules either in here or in the rules tab so that you don't confuse people about how playoffs are going to be seeded if there's a tie. I don't know, win-loss, plus-minus matters. Conference wins I have in here because it's one of the tiebreakers over here. Divisions are important if you want to have the division winners mean something. Otherwise, divisions are not even slightly important. Yeah, that's kind of just where I wanted to end off the NCL doc, was show off those kind of things and then move on. So I did want to finish off this episode by talking about the LET document. This is a very extensive document and it's got a lot of cool things in here. So we'll talk about some of the hazard setting and hazard removing things that I was trying to talk about earlier. As you can see, well, this is kind of, it's a copy of the GBA doc that's been edited, but whoever made the GBA doc, I think it was Dallas Staryu who made the GBA doc, has a whole database of all of the Pokemon, all of their abilities, all of their typings and stuff like that. And then if you scroll all the way over to here, whoops, I don't know why I just did that. Sometimes it's a pain in the ass. So now over here, he's got a type chart with different numbers and a lot, you can see, look at all of this like text in this one box. It's nice and crazy. Yeah, lots of referencing and formulas and stuff. This is all sort of an advanced formulas level. I haven't mastered this myself yet, which is why the advanced formatting and advanced formulas videos will probably be out very late, if ever. But that's sort of how the type chart works. And then in terms of moves, this is what he does as well, is he's got his overall hazard setters, overall hazard removers, and where is it? Overall clerics. So then if we go to a team page real quick, we'll go to mine because that makes a lot of sense. Go to my team page real quick here because I franchised Mimikyu. Mimikyu does not fit any of those things, but it automatically pulled his base stats. It automatically pulled his base stats. It automatically pulled his typing. It automatically will identify if it's a hazard setter. It automatically pulled its ability too. Hazard setter, remover, or cleric. And you can also see that it automatically filled in its resistances and weaknesses over here too. So Oh wow, Mimikyu has 3 immunities and only 1 resist. Huh. Who would have known? And it's a 4 times resist too. That's really cool. Actually, I should have known that, but that's fine. We'll use a better example here. I think we can go to Ecos and it should show. Alolan Ninetales. Oh, it's not showing. Alolan Ninetales gets Heal Bell now. It hasn't been input into this document yet, but Alolan Ninetales gets Heal Bell, and that should automatically show up. Actually, you know what? TJ franchised Uxie, so it should show up. Yeah, so it automatically shows up under Hazard Setters with the Stealth Rocks, and under Clerics for Heal Bell. So that's kind of just some things that I wanted to discuss on. It's very complicated. I don't know how to array constrain or anything like that. I've tried doing it this way in my own document, and it didn't work, and I wasn't patient enough to sort of roll with it. Um, but yeah, that's kind of where I just wanted to end things off. So if you feel like you want to copy anything, feel free to just pause the video and sort of like take things down. I'd appreciate it if you didn't copy exactly what I did, because I did put quite a bit of time and work into this, and I copied some of it myself. As you can see, there's some very clear similarities between the NCL and LET docs over here. But I did create quite a bit of this document myself. I did make everything from hand. I didn't copy and paste it over or anything like that. So um, yeah, that's kind of just what I wanted to touch on. Anyways, I hope you guys have a good day and enjoy editing, document editing for Draft League, which will actually have been posted before this video, but it's supposed to come after this one. So anyways, have a good night.